Welcome to the BEASTwriter podcast. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we're going to be discussing the comments that were made by 49ers cornerback Richard Sherman about his future in San Francisco. Now, for those who don't know, Sherman went on air with KBR, the flagship station of the San Francisco 49ers, and spoke about his future in San Francisco or no future in San Francisco. And this is what he said. Bear with me for a second as I pull that up, and we will get started. He said, quote, "If there's some miracle that happens, then sure, there's an opening. But there's 40 free agents, and they'll probably have $30 million or less in cap space." Very true. They got to bring back Trent Williams, who costs over $20 million. They have to pay Fred, as in Fred Warner, who costs $18 million plus a year. So, I mean, anybody who knows the situation understands that. Very true. For those who don't know, if you follow my BEASTwriter podcast, you would then know that I called it out, that Fred Warner would be due $18 to $20 million annually in a front-loaded deal because he's outplaying Bobby Wagner, who set the standard and is the highest paid middle linebacker in the NFL at $18 million, where Fred Warner is only getting less than $1 million per year. He's been outplaying Bobby Wagner for the better half of the 2 years now, and if you do the math, 18 minus $1 million, let's round up, that's $17 million per year. 17 times 2 is $34 million already overdue, so that is already going to be included in a front-loaded deal that Fred Warner is about to command on his second contract. And again, I like to tie in earlier podcasts to the one I'm doing, so if please stay up to date, subscribe, hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. It's a thumbs up that I included in all my podcasts. You subscribe there. Also, if you click on the description below, if you don't have a podcast, if you don't follow me or don't have a YouTube account, you can go ahead and just click on the description right now and you'll see and scroll through all the podcasts that are relatable to this one. All right. Furthermore, just telling you how I'm going to do things moving forward. In the upper right hand corner of your screen, I'll include relatable podcasts, so you can just click on that screen and that icon and it'll pop up that new podcast playlist. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about Richard Sherman. All right. Getting back to Richard Sherman. In my very first ever BEASTwriter podcast, I said, making sense of DeForest Buckner trade. That was my title, making sense of 49ers trading DeForest Buckner, right? So it was a bad move. We're seeing it now. I called it out, got a lot of heat for it, but hey, I stuck to my guns because more times than not, I'm spot on. And in this case, again, I was spot on. And not saying I told you so, but I told you so. And one way to keep DeForest Buckner in San Francisco was to release Richard Sherman, something I pointed out in the podcast. And why would I say that? Well, you're saving the team $12.9 million, right? So you wipe your hands clean there, and then you can help give Buckner a front-loaded deal because, remember, he was playing on the fifth-year option. He wasn't an unrestricted free agent. There was no need to franchise him. He could have played the last year of his rookie deal on that fifth-year option, and then the following year, which would be the year after that, you can go ahead and use Richard Sherman's savings and kind of give him that money. But they didn't do it. They rather extend Eric Armstead, who is the $85 million man now. All right. So, getting back to Richard Sherman, let's first look at the cons and then I'll look at the pros. All right. Like starting with the negatives and then finishing on the positives. What does Richard Sherman bring to the table? Well, in my opinion, he clearly lost a step, right? He's dealing with hamstring injuries. He's been dealing with high ankle sprains. He's been dealing with calf injuries for the better half of the last 4 years, missing a total of 28 regular season games. And that's not good for an aging cornerback who's turning the age of 33. Or he is 33. I think he is 33 or turning 33. Whatever the case may be, let me look at it because I need to be accurate in what I'm saying. I believe he's 33. Or going to be 33. Either or. You get the point. It's old in terms of football age. And yeah, he's 32 now. He's going to be 33 when he becomes a free agent at the end of the year. So, same difference. But yeah, so he's going to be 33, right? So age is not on his side is basically what I'm saying. Age is not on his side. Especially as a boundary cornerback. He already had openly admitted that he would probably make the switch over to free safety because that's what players do toward the tailor end of their careers. We saw it with Charles Woodson, and we saw it with a few other players. Rod Woodson, That's cool. Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson. Yeah. So players like that who are very elite cornerbacks make the switch to safety later on in their careers. All right. So, getting back to Richard Sherman's, finish up on the cons. He routinely plays with a 5 to 7 yard cushion, which is understandable under the scheme because, as you know, in that cover 3 scheme, you want to keep things in front of you, give up the dinky donk passes, and then when it gets to third down, that's when you can rush the quarterback. Well, what happens is it doesn't matter for the down and distance because if it's third and short, you will always see Richard Sherman playing behind the sticks and not protecting the sticks. That's one thing that I saw last year, and I pointed it out last year in my podcast. If you scroll, you can find it. I said it's going to hurt him in the playoffs. It'll hurt him in the Super Bowl. It did. Sammy Watkins burned him for that big play downfield. Now, why does Richard Sherman play with that big of a cushion, no matter the down and distance? The answer is simple. He no longer has the deep speed, not like he had it before because his 40 time, I believe, is like 4.6 or 4.7, but he no longer has the quick twitch muscle fibers to stay stride for stride on the hip of the receiver on those double moves. He just doesn't have it anymore. And that's not a knock on Richard Sherman. He's been an elite cornerback for the better half of his career, and he's at the tail end of his career now, so obviously that's going to happen. I mean, you can't be the ageless wonder for all your life. It just doesn't happen unless you're Tom Brady. Last but not least, let's talk about Richard Sherman, what he did last year. Well, he led the team with 7 penalties, and a lot of it was defensive holding, and a lot of it was pass interference penalties. So evident by what? Being beat by double moves, not being able to stay on the hip of the receiver, but being smart enough to take the penalty, because if he didn't take the penalty, he would have been beat deep, possibly for a touchdown. All right? He also ranked with a team high 16 first downs. He allowed 16 first downs last year. And again, you're playing behind the sticks. Anytime you do that, it's an easy read for the quarterback to go ahead and switch up the play call and just use that wide receiver in that role. Okay? So, all in all, Richard Sherman wasn't getting it done. Last year, for the most part, he did get it. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't get it done last year. He had a really good year last year. But there were things that I was seeing in his game that didn't warrant him returning this year. All right, now let's look at the pros. All right, the pros for Richard Sherman are plentiful, right? You get a locker room presence, a team captain type of guy, savvy, smart football player who can coach up the younger guys, teach them and mentor them the nuances of the game, the tricks of the trade, so forth. Now, he's really good at reading route concepts. That's something that NFL cornerbacks need to learn, especially if you're a young NFL cornerback, because you can do all the game film study, but if you don't know what to look for and you don't know how to make the proper reads, you're going to get burned deep. That's just the way it is. He's still an above average player, meaning that a playoff contender will likely be able to get his services for the value that he's at today. You're not paying for the player that he once was, you're paying for the player he is now. And Richard Sherman is still a very good player that can be a plug-and-play starter and be a viable asset to the defense. All right. Now, he did lead the team with 3 interceptions last year, so to say that he doesn't have ball skills, I'd be lying to you. I still think he has ball skills. Again, I do believe that Richard Sherman still has what it takes to get it done in the NFL, but just not the highest level that we are accustomed to seeing over the past few years. All right? Well, that be it for today. I hope you had and liked what I had to offer. If you did, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as I keep all things Beast. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you like the video, and it was just good show today. Good show today. All right? Well, again, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Stay tuned for the next BEASTwriter podcast. BEASTwriter out.